Yeah, we are now live. So I want to we'll continue addressing some of the most common questions that we see from people. And if there's someone who is connected right now and wants to ask a particular question, I will pick it up.
Yeah.
Is there something you want me to focus on?
Um, let's just give it probably a couple of minutes. Yeah, I think I'll get started with my question. What is Tantra really, and why people misunderstand it?
Why people misunderstand it could be due to a plethora of reasons. Mm, I'm not sure why people misunderstand it. We can't say that for sure. What Tantra is a more valuable question, right? Tantra means action. For worship in any religion, there is both Tantra and Mantra. Tantra is a word used for whatever actions are being done. Mantra is whatever utterances are being done. Knowledge, in its profound sense, in its originality, starts without the use of sound, in silence. Knowledge starts through Tantra, but it cannot be understood without the silence and the seeking potential that it requires. When that kind of seeking potential exists, knowledge is communicated in silence, but with minimal tantra, that is, with minimal actions. This was the original way of education, as I've heard it from people that I consider reliable sources of scriptures. From personal experience, also, I have received knowledge without any sound. That is just tantra, which means I can attest to that, and I know by experience that it is a fact. That now knowledge started with action. With tantra. That is the transfer of knowledge from teacher to a student, or communication between people happened without the need for um, verbal dialogue. That aspect of worship, that aspect of anything should ideally be called tantra, but in modern day, that is more closely related to worship in a broad sense. So, if you're asking me what tantra simply means action, not speech.
What is ego and how do I dissolve the ego?
To dissolve the ego, you need both realization and understanding. Understanding that ego has been fueled by the mind and it exists as a virtual framework within your mind. It is not something real. It's called aham. It's the question of identity. So ego comes, you should understand the root of ego. Let me go into the root of ego. The ego can develop only by distancing yourself from God. How is that possible? Now, when there are a million human beings and all of them internally are just God at the atmic level, and all that put together is not two, is not one, it's all just one, like one homogeneous entity. If there is one particular body with a mind that creates, tells itself that I am something else other than everything else in creation, then that individual is creating individuality from the rest. That individuality is because of certain attributes that the individual gives himself. The individuality itself is the ego sense, apart from the collective, apart from rest of the entirety of creation separating itself is what an organism does, and that organism has an ego because of the act of separation, and such an act of separation is possible only for one kind of organisms, and those organisms are homo sapiens. I mean, a complex organism, right?
Yeah.
A complex life form which can alienate itself from the rest of creation by thinking that its skin is the physical barrier, because its skin is within which, or its senses is its physical barrier. So the more and more it alienates itself, the lesser and lesser it can perceive to with its senses. The shorter and shorter its reach becomes also through its senses, because it's trying to alienate itself from everything else. When I say it, I am referring to any human being who has an ego sense. That is the source of ego, that alienation. And the dissolution of ego is nothing but the realization that everything is connected. This is the understanding and the reality. This is how you have to understand the reality. This is a fact. By experience, if you have to dissolve it, it is by experiencing the connection with everything else. That experiencing the connection with everything else around you could happen in a multitude of ways. When you are sitting silently, when you walk in a forest, when you are amidst nature, these are the things most people can most relate to. Right? Even if you are engaged in a fight with someone, you can identify yourself as something very close to the other person in an instant. It could happen at any instant, but what people can relate to most easily is the connection with nature they experience when they are not preoccupied with too many thoughts, or too many objects that are made by people again that have mm, they're engaged with what they've been used to being engaged with evolutionarily for thousands of years. People have been engaged with certain kinds of objects, just them, certain kinds of activities, just them, will still give them a sense of oneness with everything else. More consumption, more objectification, that too of the recent kind, diverge you from the reality.
Is enlightenment or spiritual journey possible living in a city setup? We are saying we have to meditate in nature. So, is it even possible to have any progress living in a city setup?
This is a very surface level question. Enlightenment is what happens internally. It can happen no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing. You don't have to sit peacefully with no sounds. Nothing is required for even for meditation. In at any fraction, at any point, you can just disappear like that into thoughtlessness. But to reach that point, I think I can accept that you need some kind of peace, some kind of initial preparation, some, and more importantly, what you need is good guidance. It's not the setup in terms of where you are, it's in terms of what is in your head. The problem is in what you have in your head. That is a prejudice that you have, or that is a guideline which is misdirecting you that you have. These are real problems, not the city or being in nature in a village, or being in an apartment. That's not the main blocker. The blocker is in your mind. First thing, if you resolve that blocker in your mind, you will naturally feel more comfortable wherever you are. And as you move along, there's nobody stopping you from going to the countryside or going to a hill station or sitting at your home, going to work. Wherever you feel like you can relate more, you will naturally move in that direction.
Yeah.
Like, you should never think of a tense in a of a future tense. You should never, nobody, I would say, should put themselves in a framework where they say, I am in a city, I am in this situation, so it's not possible for me to meditate. I want to go here, I want to be in that place, in that setup, at this time. At time, place, space, nothing matters for a person intent upon meditating. Very simple. If a person is intent upon meditating or realizing the truth, person just observes the breath and is lost from there. That's the truth.
No matter where he
No
is.
matter what or how or when. Only when you are not meditating and you are not actually involved in practice, you will be concerned about your space, your time, your surroundings. Everything else in the physical dimension concerns you because you're not meditating
But
right now.
but why is it that you feel so connected? Why is it that you experience that collective and that oneness when you are in nature as compared to being in a city setup?
Because you can identify everything around you as having evolved with you subconsciously.
Mm.
biologically.
Mm.
The biology within you identifies itself as one with the biology outside.
Mm.
In a city, in a concrete structure, there is very little that you see, hear, touch that evolved with you evolutionarily.
Mm.
The microbiome also is quite different. It's not what you experience outside. That connection, that liberation you experience because you feel you are back at home after being exiled for a long time.
Mm.
Even if you have never been to a forest, a silent place where there is little disturbance from the modern world, when you go there, you experience a connection
Yeah.
because it is in your biological memory, even in your atmic memory, everywhere, wherever there can be memory. What you remember, what you can connect with is your originality, something that you have lived with for a very long time.
Mm.
Say you lived with your parents for 20 years. If you are separated from your parents
Mm.
and live with, you are alone and are surrounded with people, a lot of people, but none of them are your parents
Mm.
for a few days, maybe 20 days. You have no connection, you've never spoken to your parents, you have completely lost sight, sound,
Mm.
touch, everything of your parents
Mm.
for a day.
Mm.
You are separated from all those people that were there for the 20 days.
Mm.
And you live like you lived with your parents for 20 years, just for a day. You go
Mm.
back
Mm.
and sense it for a day. Even if you had complete memory loss
Mm.
after those 20 years, and that's why you lived for 20 days in an alienated society, on the day you are put back with your parents, I can argue that you will feel a sense of connection. Though you knew nothing, though you don't remember anything, your
Mm.
memory has been wiped out. Still, you feel like I am somehow connected to these people. I
Mm.
feel that connection.
Mm.
That experience is what is happening to people now.
Mm. What are the major blockers in any spiritual progress or blockers for meditation?
When you have intent, when you have the willpower, you will find a way to meditate. It's like the old saying, where there is a will, there is a way. And meditation, like most people think, does not need a peaceful place to sit, a posture, a particular time of the day. None of this is required. But if you're thinking all this is required and that is what I don't have and that's a blocker, it's because of your understanding.
Mm.
You do not understand what in the multitude of ways in which meditation could happen. And since you don't understand all that, you're thinking you need a particular place, time, spot, and a particular external situation to be created for you to meditate. Meditation happens internally, not externally, right?
Yeah.
So, why are you connecting external circumstances with internal meditation?
Mm.
So do not connect external circumstances with internal meditation. And if you do not connect these two, then internally you can meditate no matter where you are, what you are doing, how you are doing it. So probably I'll mm, guide on how you can meditate no matter where you are and post a short video after this.
Sure.
Yeah.
If that is the case, if there is no connection at all whatsoever between external situation or external circumstance with the internal meditation, then why is it that we have been given certain prescriptions or guidelines on when to do, how to do? This has been coming from through generations, that this is the time you wake up at, that is when you that is when you should meditate, this is how you should live, your lifestyle should be in a certain way. Why is it that then transmitted through ages?
See, there are favorable situations and there are requisites. What I mentioned is that it's not a requisite. What you have been hearing is favorable situations. The time, whatever guidelines you have received regarding the time, regarding the place, regarding the way you sit, are what favor the quiescence of the mind, the silencing of the mind. They favor it. I don't deny that. But they are not mandatory requirements.
Hmm.
They are not required. If you have the willpower, you can do it no matter where, no matter how, whatever be the situation. So, you procrastinating from meditation because you do not have an external space is nonsense, because you have the intent to meditate. Intent goes above all. What I want to do right now, like I am intent upon meditating right now. Instead of thinking that I need a space time, I can directly dive into meditation right now. And directly diving happens by me being conscious of myself, becoming aware. um, how do I meditate for beginners? I'll guide you into that separately. No matter where you are, how you are, you can do it. If that is what you want to learn, you can learn. But if you're thinking that the external situations are an obstacle, you have to come out of that thought process, because they are not obstacles. What they are favorable situations. They favor. They don't create. There's no duality. Like this is impossible in this situation. It's quite possible.
So let's keep the external situation aside. And now talking about the internal meditation. Let's say today I decide that, okay, evening I'll meditate at 6 o'clock. And then somehow I get a call and then I get distracted, and for some reason I won't be able to sit and meditate at 6 o'clock. Now my mind becomes restless. That, oh, I could not meditate. Now I'm guilty. And then what I do, oh, I could not meditate at this time because this is what I thought. Then there are so many series of thoughts that come, and I know that this is a thought that is a blocker, but at that particular point of time I get carried away. So I know probably the next day I realize, oh, at this time this is how my mind played with me. I know it the next day, but at that particular point I got carried away. How do I avoid such distractions?
See, the time 6 o'clock in the evening is external to your awareness. It's external to you.
What do you mean?
And awareness is just aware. It's observing everything that is happening. Your sense of time, space, body, all events outside your body, to your body, everything is being observed as a neutral observer by your awareness. Like God watches upon us. So the observation, the awareness is what is watching upon you and everything around you. That awareness is what you have to connect with. And trying to connect with that awareness is called meditation. Not you trying to sit in some place, not you thinking that 6 o'clock is what I will do. You sitting at 6 o'clock in a particular place and doing some physical activity like observing your breath or sitting in a particular posture with multitude of thoughts or with no thoughts. None of this matters to your awareness. Awareness is just observing. So the entire idea has to be trashed. Like I will sit at 6 o'clock and meditate is a plan for an event. So you are thinking about something in the future from right now. Your mind is who feels comfortable as soon as you get into future tense or past tense. The mind moving into future tense and past tense is the very reason you cannot meditate right now. Not letting the mind move into future tense or past tense is the very act of meditation, is the very objective of meditation. Understanding all this is how you come out of this spiral, or understanding this very simple thing. It could be something very simple to you or very complicated,
Mm.
because freezing the mind, letting the mind go, not planning for the future, not involving in anything external is how you let yourself know that you are the observer. And knowing that you are the observer is the realization you need. That realization is blocked by the mind. So you planning to meditate at 6 p.m., then you are getting a call. All this is what happens normally. This is a very common situation.
Yeah.
The solution to that is, as soon as you have an opportunity, see, the solution to this is simple clarity and understanding. But what you could do is, as soon as you have an opportunity, no matter if it's six or not, be not concerned about it and just meditate.
What then, the way we have perceived this meditation as an act. Now you're saying don't be worried about the act, don't be worried about the time, don't be worried about anything. So then, what meditation really is? Because we've seen that as an act. You have to give a certain time, a dedicated time for doing certain thing. It could be a certain. You could. It could be anything that has been come from your teacher or whatever you're trying to practice personally from something, from some source. So then there is always an act involved when we say meditation. If meditation is not an act, then what it is?
It's accepting the beauty, it's accepting the bliss that normal life is. It's accepting, it's just acceptance. Okay. So, um, when you stop thinking and just start breathing, you are just accepting everything that is around you. Say, for a, let me put it in the terms of senses. Okay. The sound that you hear, all the sounds happening around you, you just start accepting all of them. as an observer. All the light that is falling onto your eyes is creating an image. You are not even trying to construct a stable image. So your image also gets blurred. Like the focal point is no object in the space, it's just the space between all objects around you and your eyes. That's the focal point, which means you're not seeing anything. You can just, everything is appearing to you. All sounds are being heard, but you are not hearing anything.
How is that possible?
How is that possible? If you just stay there, if, right? For example, you're not intent upon doing something, but it is happening to you. Are you breathing right now?
Yeah.
Were you intent upon breathing? Like,
No.
did you pull the air inside?
No.
Did you push it out?
No.
It was happening, right? What is happening is what you observe.
So the hearing, the senses are already, it is not my
Already,
intent that I want to hear, listen to something. It's just that the ears are receiving the signals, the eyes are receiving the signals, and you are
you're
just
not even processing what signals are being received, but you know that signals are coming.
just like I don't understand, oh, how much amount of uh, what time I'm how much time I'm taking the breath inside, or I don't understand the breath, right? I know I'm breathing, I can see it, but I don't understand or know what exactly breathing is. Like, I'm not trying to do it as an intent, like you said. Is
Yes.
that what you mean?
Um, yes. You're not trying to decode consciously, at least, unless you are having some kind of an asthma attack or something. You're not thinking like, what is this happening to my breath? You're not conscious. But when you look at it, you're just observing it. Just like that, even it happens with sound, with sight, with everything. That state is the state of awareness. You spend longer and longer without thoughts in the state of awareness, you start experiencing beauty within. That acceptance comes. You start experiencing that bliss. You start becoming happy just like that. You don't need anything to be happy. You don't need a time, don't need an event. You don't need a situation. You don't need a privilege. You don't need to pleasure your senses in any way or mind in any way. You just start experiencing some kind of happiness. That's called peace. That's called bliss. That's the kind of happiness a seeker experiences when his um, path is clear, when he is progressing towards self realization, nirvana. Multitude of names for the same thing. Yeah. So we are winding up today's live session. And if you have questions, you can leave them on the mail ID that I share here. Thank you.